121. Rocking the BS.
Where's your mic? I'm on brand. What's up, y'all? Oh my God. We're just talking about how I'm on brand today, and apparently Ash hasn't done the laundry yet, so that's why Billy doesn't is not on brand.
I shouldn't really.
Dude, you said now she's gonna know you said that.
Throw me on blast.
Billy Scott, gee
You're
whiz.
like, sounds right. Sounds right.
Anyway, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Billy Scott Real Estate Podcast. We're here for another episode. We're going to chat about, as you can tell from the title, it's confession time. And we're going to get into Billy's credit card past.
Oh, man. Credit card confession.
Heck yeah.
And not only just confessions, how you can use credit cards to your advantage
Yep.
or disadvantage if you're not disciplined. I've been on both sides of it.
Yep.
Sometimes not the great side, and sometimes the other side of it.
Yeah.
So,
Which I feel like everybody can relate to, though, you know, right? Like, I don't know. I've heard so many different people talk about like, oh, yep, got a little bit carried away with my credit cards or, you know, whatever, didn't understand this and that kind of thing. I feel like I didn't really understand a lot until really some things that you had started talking about, like the point game you play and different promotions that you move around and different stuff. Not necessarily advising that that's for everybody,
Yep.
but it is very fascinating because it's something that like they don't teach that anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So anyway, I want to know like what was like, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. I mean, this really has to do with money.
Yeah.
So what was your relationship with money kind of growing up, what you learned, what you saw? Because that, I feel like that's kind of what shapes people's relationship with money when they're an adult and what they understand, right? Because you only know what you know from how you grew up or what was taught to you. So what was that like for you?
Well, I think like overall, I think of money and I think of career minded. And my parents always kind of pushed, get a good job with a good company.
Yeah.
And work there 20, 30, 40 years and retire. Like that's like the American dream. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go. And I think of all the recruiting and stuff I did at Knife River at all these high schools and talking to different high school kids and college kids and adults as well. Like everybody has a different path at a different time in their life. It's not just when you're 18, this is this. And when you're 22, this is this. And if you don't do that or that, you have no options towards success in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, you know, people have joked about. Like if your goal is to go graduate high school and get your high school diploma, that should be your number one goal as a child, you know, growing up. That's your first biggest, like huge accomplishment. It's not to just go settle for a GED, but guess what? A GED is a great accomplishment for certain people with a different past or whatever, a different, you know, upbringing. And a GED is a wonderful avenue because things are different in their life.
So true.
And it's not for us to confirm or approve if that's what makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because they have a GED doesn't mean they can't go do great things.
Yeah.
But they probably had a little different upbringing.
Well, it is kind of hard, like the standard of, right? We talk about this all the time. Like you have to have a standard, right? To qualify people for things, right? In life, in work, and buying a car, buying a house, whatever. You have to be qualified. So there is a standard, but it's interesting too because there's more than one way to learn something. Everybody learns things differently. All of our experiences are so different in how it shapes us in our lives.
Yeah.
So for you, like, I know you've talked about, like, you know, you didn't come from a lot of money at all.
Nope.
Your mama worked really hard.
Mom and Larry.
Yeah.
Larry's
And
the one
Larry,
that, you know.
Larry. I love Larry. Dude, we need to have him on the podcast. I feel like he would be a good time.
Ooh, we might have to have some filters in place. No, they'd have a good time.
Yeah.
I just don't know that we have enough time to have mom on the
Oh,
podcast.
come on. Maybe you and your mom. That'd be a lot.
That'd be a long
I might have
episode.
to leave you at the office.
Yeah, there's some real right there.
I know. But yeah, so like what was that like for you? Growing up, like did your parents talk about credit cards? Did you see credit cards? Like there's so many different ways that, like we talked about, like my parents had credit cards, but I always kind of got this feeling or heard that like, no, use cash for everything. Like credit cards aren't great, or they're good if you use them right, but they're not if you don't. So like maybe just stay away from them, like be really careful. I kind of got a sense of fear from it. But what about you? Like, what was that like?
So I can think of the first time I got credit, I believe was at Target, and I got approved for like a $300 credit card.
That's awesome.
And I thought, this is great. What do I need?
I was just going to
Like,
ask, what are you buying at Target?
You know, it was more, what do I want, not what I need. But that's the reality.
Wait, I want to put you on blast though. That is so funny. Like you having a Target credit card.
Yeah, that was my first credit
out
card.
of all the places.
And I was like 19.
Oh my God.
But actually, backtrack. I had an overdraft card, which I thought was just a standard credit card.
Okay.
Well, however it was, I thought it would shut off and no longer allow me to use it once I hit my $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was through Wells Fargo, I believe. That's where my parents banked when I was younger. And I was down in Arizona, and it was like a backup debit card. And I just thought, okay, like I won't have overdraft protection, or I won't have overdraft fees or anything, because I was always playing like every couple weeks. It's like, do you have money or are you overdrafted? It was just, you're living paycheck to paycheck, buying stuff you don't need and living the party life. So I had that card, and it just kept allowing me to go buy whatever it was, whether it was beer or whatever it was that I didn't need, nor could I afford.
Yeah.
It was still allowing me to buy it. Well,
was this when you were in Arizona?
When I was in Arizona.
Okay, so when you went to college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you didn't have a credit card before then?
Nope.
Okay.
No. So it was down there, and oh my gosh, that $1,000 that I ended up spending like $1,400 or $1,600 on.
Yeah.
I think over the next year and a half of trying to play catch up on paying it off, I think it cost me like $4,500.
Oh my God.
Because it was an it just.
Yeah.
So every 2-week paycheck, it was like, I got to apply $400 payment towards it and then pay down $150.
Yeah.
Because it was just outrunning.
Right.
But it was, if I didn't have to eat crow and take some of that humble pie of doing it, you don't learn. And that was my first like, oh my gosh, this is expensive real quick, and I don't make enough money to be having one of these, nor do I have self-discipline or control at the age of 18 and 19. So that it sucked. It just flat out sucked.
Yeah.
Most people won't talk about their failure with it.
Because people are so embarrassed by it, which I understand.
Yeah.
Because it feels like when it comes to money, like you should do everything right and you should never mess up or make any mistakes with it. And so then people don't talk about it.
Well, it's just like people that go to the casino.
Yeah.
You always hear about the wins.
Yeah.
And I like going to the casino and I like gambling.
Yeah.
But you also hear about some of my losses. And come to find out, Spirit Mountain still owes me some money. I'm just loaning it to them for a while.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 1 out of 3 times you're going to win money maybe.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not even the case. So it's like people always want to talk about the success with it, but they don't want to talk about the failure with it. So jumping back to credit cards, I think I learned the credit card game through vouchers that would be sent to me. So a few years later, in my early 20s, I would get these vouchers from US Bank, and there'd be 3 checks on there, and it'd be, you can use this as cash, or you can use it as a 0% balance transfer. But you go to talk to the bank and they're like, no, that's just a promotion. You can't come to the bank and this isn't on your profile. This is a promotion. They're trying to get you to spend more money with them. And I'm like, well, they found a sucker. How could I spend money? So fast forward, learning about those and asking questions about them. A lot of times they're a 3% one-time fee, but you may have a 12 to 18 month 0% balance transfer for that. So let's just use simple math. On $10,000, let's say you go, man, I want 10 grand.
Mhm.
Do I have enough available credit? So you've got to build up your available credit on your
Mhm.
cards, but you can't balance transfer from the same bank to the same bank. So you got to go, Bank of America or US Bank or Citizens Bank or
Mhm.
Wells Fargo, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You've got to have different banks and you've got to build up different credit available balances so that when these opportunities come, you can capitalize on it. But then, say you don't have it paid off by the end of that term
Mhm.
and you're about to get hit with 27% fees,
Mhm.
balance transfer it to another bank with another 0% promotion, pay the one time 3% fee.
Mhm.
Now, yes, you're paying interest on a one time instead of, monthly
Okay,
interest,
yeah.
which is way lower.
Yeah.
Usually within 3 months it's already paid for itself.
Yeah.
Now the rest of the promotion, you've got 0% money.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not suggesting this unless you can be disciplined.
Mhm.
And I live through the credit card game in a sense of if I'm going to spend a dollar on a Snickers,
Mhm.
I want to get 1 mile or 1 hotel point
Mhm.
of some sort. I want to get 1 or 2.
Yeah.
If I know I'm going to spend that dollar, I want to get something for it.
Yeah.
So it's take advantage of the perks.
Mhm.
But let's just say you spend 3 grand on your credit card a month for all your utility bills, on just everything that you purchase, swipe it.
Yeah.
But when your statement comes out, you have to pay off your statement balance every month
Mhm.
and you never pay interest.
Mhm.
You pay interest when your statement balance is not paid off.
Yeah.
And then it's from the day that the swipe happened. So a
Mhm.
lot of times that's 30 to 45 days prior.
Mhm.
Oh, so now you're paying 45 days interest
Mm.
compounded and it just outruns you and it
Yeah.
gets nasty quick.
Yeah.
And there was times early on that I didn't pay it off in time
Yeah.
or I was $1,000 shy of paying it off. And then you realize how much it costs you
Yeah.
the next month to play catch up to pay it off.
Yeah.
It's either you've got to be disciplined and you can do it or don't do it because it's going to cost you way more than just running it out of a debit account.
Yep.
Um, but with these advantages, I was trying to buy a couple vehicles before, a couple $1,000 where I'd fix them up or I see a deal where I could go make money on them.
Mhm.
And I thought, man, I don't have the money, but this is a really good deal. How can I get that vehicle right now? I've got 2 cars, they're 2 grand a piece. I like Toyotas and Hondas because they sell themselves. They're reliable. They're great first time cars for younger people. And I would think, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one of these promotion vouchers. If you have good credit, you get sent more vouchers in
Mhm.
general. The lower credit, the less of these vouchers become available. But you got to have your available credit set. So I would take one of these promotions, turn it in, it turns into cash, and you could go pay cash for these 2 cars at $2,000 a piece, and you pay that one-time fee on the borrowed money from that promotion.
Mm.
So that 3% fee.
Mhm.
Well, on this case, let's say it was 4 grand. Well, 4 grand is how much a fee at 3%? $120.
Mhm.
So pay the $120 fee the first time you go to figure out your cost into that vehicle when you're adding like, hey, how much was the oil change? How much was,
Yeah.
an alignment or whatever repairs you had to do?
Mhm.
Add in the $120 fee because that's part of your cost that you put into the vehicle. Then when you sell it, it's sell price minus cost equals profit.
Mhm.
You just factor that into your overall purchase and sell. Well, guess what? The next car that you bought at 2 grand, you've already absorbed the cost of that.
Mhm.
So some people would go, "Oh my god, go take that 2 grand and go deposit it back in the bank, and then you've only got, then you only owe 2 more grand."
Yeah.
No, no, no. I just got a 12-month promotion on that money. I've already paid the cost of it.
Mhm.
Let's let that money make us money in different ways for 12 months. Why is it 0%?
Mhm.
But people aren't willing to take that risk and let somebody else's money go make you money.
Yeah.
Because if you're not disciplined, it's a bad plan.
Right.
You have to be disciplined with it.
Yeah.
So I would take that and then I go roll it in and go, I'm going to buy a $3,000 car. And maybe that means I'm gonna then, sell that one and buy a $5,000 car. And then you go, how many different things can I buy over the next 12 months on their money that when it comes up to it, you pay it off the
Yeah.
last month, the last day,
Yeah.
and get that thing paid off before it turns into interest and go, all of that risk allowed me to make money on that money.
Yeah.
And even if it's just $100 here, 500 there, it was finding ways to get creative to make money. So then I would not like the feeling of buying $1,000, $2,000 cars because you would make smaller profit
Mhm.
and it's a bigger risk. The odds of a $1,000 car breaking down is a lot higher than a $5,000 car.
True.
So the way I started looking at it was I need to spend more money on bigger purchases because it's a better
Mhm.
quality product in the end.
Yeah.
And it's a different clientele, it's a different market in a $5,000 car than a $1,000 to $2,000 car.
Mhm.
So that was another thing I learned was I don't gotta wonder, is this car gonna break down in 2 months? And then them be frustrated. It's like, no, I wanna know, like, when I'm buying a better product, I'm spending more money up front, but I recognize it I'm willing to take that risk because it's a better product.
Mhm.
And I look at a lot of things like that now as I've gotten older. Um, I still got the cheap side of me of something I don't wanna pay extra money for when I don't see the value in
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but there's things where it's like I will definitely spend the extra money on things that I see it's not something that you cheap on.
Right. The
Um,
quality of things.
yep.
So wait, not did you ever buy a vehicle and then you weren't able to sell it for what you thought you could and then not make money off of it when you
Yeah.
were doing that?
So, I've sold a lot of different things over the years,
Mhm.
but there's been a handful of items that I lost $100 or I may have lost $250,
Mhm.
here and there. I've never taken huge losses on some of those items,
Mhm.
but some it was just like I had it 3 months, couldn't get it sold, thought it was worth more. It's like, wash your hands, get the money that you can get out of it and move on so you can go apply it towards something else that can make you money.
Mhm.
And think of it like in real estate or think of it in today's world. Use the same theory. If it's not making you any money, how long are you going to keep it? And how long are you going to lose money on it before you cut the ties with it, get what you can out of it, and go start applying that money towards something else that's going to make you money?
Yeah.
That's going to be a better, more solid investment.
Yeah.
So,
That's it's so interesting. Did you like wait, so the Target one that you were talking about,
yeah.
was that one when you were in Arizona too? Or was that
No, that was when I moved back home
okay.
and was making no money. Um, and I had, young child at home, and
Oh,
then
you were buying diapers.
right,
That
right.
makes sense.
So the credit card might have went towards some diapers, maybe some wipes.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was just like they ask you at the register, oh, if you apply for a
Yeah.
Target credit card, you save 10%. I'm like, oh, savings, sign me up. Here's my social. $300, and then you're thinking in yourself, what am I gonna do with $300 if this is really like, wow, my credit must suck? And that was because when I was in Arizona, I had
Oh,
overdrafted, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I thought it was gonna shut off.
yeah.
Oh no, the bank is a business. They're there to make money,
Right.
and you fell for it.
Yeah.
So I had to crawl my way out of that and get caught up. And I could
Yeah.
be mad at the credit card all I want, but it was my spending and it was my lack of paying attention
Mhm.
that did it, which turned into my lesson of what I don't ever want to do again.
Yeah. How did you take that experience from when you were young? And I mean, you have kiddos now, like what was your mindset in teaching your kids about credit cards and money now when you're raising your own kids, like from
Yeah.
what you've learned?
I tell anybody that asks me about, man, how do you do the, all the travel miles and the hotel credits, things like that? It's like, oh, it's a game. The
Mhm.
credit card world is a game,
Mhm.
but you've got to stay on top of it.
Mhm.
And if you can't pay off your statement balance every month, it's not a game you want to play.
Mhm.
Now, there's a difference from paying off your statement balance every month when you're running all your monthly bills and everything.
Yeah.
Each month your new credit card comes out, you pay it off every month.
Yeah.
That's one strategy towards just utilizing the points. Now, the other side of the credit card game is having the available credit and taking on these promotion vouchers, 0% balance
Mhm.
transfers, or
Yeah.
you can turn them into cash. So two different styles,
Right.
but both of them are, if you can't make your payment,
Mhm.
get out.
Yeah.
If you can let your money ride and you can take on that risk, and by the end of that 12 months or that promotion, you have it paid off or transferred into something else,
Mhm.
then it's worth it. It'll
Yeah.
usually pencil.
Yeah.
Because
So,
go ahead.
is that what you're kind of is that what you're like Kyla, for instance, are you guys teaching her that now? And, like, helping her learn building credit, paying off your credit card, like, those types of things?
Yep.
I mean, she's still kinda young, but is that something that you guys feels important?
So to a point, we're teaching her some, but we don't want her to just have the mindset of like, jump into credit card
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
let that credit work. So what we've
totally.
done is we've put Kyla on our business credit card.
Mm,
She has no access to it.
mhm,
Like, we told her about it, we told her what we're doing, but it's not for her to access and go use as another card.
mhm.
Like, we're not those parents. Different tax
Yeah.
bracket.
Yeah.
But what it's for is she's 15 years old. And I think it's when they turn 14, you can do it.
Oh, interesting.
And they can start building credit off of our business card that we use on a monthly basis, money in,
Okay.
money out,
Yeah,
and she's building credit. So
yeah.
by the time she gets to be 18 and
Mhm,
goes to move out or go to school or whatever it may be,
mhm.
it's not like no credit. It's, oh my gosh, you've got 4 years of established credit. She's going to
Mm.
have a great credit score at a young age, and it just gets her 2 steps forward of hitting the ground running in life
Yeah.
to be able to have, when she goes to apply for that Target card,
Mhm.
she'll probably be approved for 3 grand, not 300, because I had no credit.
Yeah.
And they say sometimes no credit is worse than bad credit,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
because they've got nothing to go off of.
Yeah. Yeah, I had no credit, like, when I got married, like, just I mean, I was young, but I mean, I was 20,
Yeah.
but, like, I didn't have credit, I didn't have a credit card. Somebody had actually told me when I was going to school, they were like the school I was going through, they were like, "You could put the payment," because I was paying it out of pocket. They
Yeah.
were like, "You could put the payment on a credit card and then just pay it off because you have the money, and then you're gonna build your credit that
Yep.
way." Um, and I didn't because I was told not to, but which is fine.
Yeah.
But then I got married and, like, luckily my husband had really good credit. And now I have better credit than him, so
We can change that, Steven.
But yeah, I feel like it's fascinating to me though to, like, kind of watch, like, and I don't ever want this to come from, like, a place of, like, we're shaming our parents for not teaching us
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. It's like there's so many things that you have to, like, teach a young individual.
Yep.
Like, there's so much and not everything lands, right? Like, it's gonna land when it needs to land. And even if you try to teach them, sometimes they don't.
Yep.
They're like, "Well, whatever." And then later they're like, "Hey, you didn't teach me about that." My mom always says that. She's like, "I told you, like,
Yeah.
you weren't ready to hear it." But I think it's interesting, like, now, hearing your experience of, like, what you wrestled through with
Yeah.
money and finances and credit cards and learning it, and just having to figure it out.
Mhm.
And then now you being on the other side of being a parent and having young kids and, like, okay, how do we teach our kids about
Yep.
money and they respect the dollar and understand how this, the game works,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But I think where did you come up with that? Like, adding her so that she could build credit?
Watching different credit card, like, tutorials and
Mm,
different things, like, on
yeah,
social media,
yeah.
going down the rabbit hole, you know?
Scrolling.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, she wanted to buy a better truck. So
Mhm.
her second vehicle that she bought had more problems than what we had planned for and this and that, and she's like, "Ugh, like, Dad, I need to buy something more reliable." It's
Yeah.
like, "We agree." So it was kinda like she had an opportunity to buy a truck before her other one was sold,
Mhm.
and I said, "Well, this is an opportunity. We've got these different promotions,
Mhm.
you know, every year you get a 4-H check at the end of summer, but you're wanting to apply that money towards how much money do you need to raise your steers and heifers for next year?
Mm.
How much money do you need to set aside? Like, what money do you earn that goes into your account and trying to run it like a business,
Yep.
but understanding that there's a cost to all of it.
Yeah.
And so we made a deal with her to set up a Bank of America balance transfer, 0%, pay the one time fee, I think it was $600 on the money,
Mhm.
and it's like, "Here, you're out that $600. So this vehicle is gonna cost you 600 more than what you thought.
Mhm.
But now you can have that vehicle. You've got 12 months or 15 months, whatever it is,
Mhm.
to have this loan paid off
Mhm.
or balance transfer into a different account,
Mhm.
as long as it makes sense to pay another balance transfer fee and stretch out the length of that money
Yeah.
because it's very cheap money
Yeah.
at that, expense."
Mhm.
Well, think of, for example, like a $20,000 loan at
Mhm.
3%, that's $600.
Yeah.
Well, where can you get $600, a $600 fee for 12 to 15 months?
Yeah.
It doesn't take
Mm-mm.
just a couple months of paying interest
Right.
to go, "Oh my gosh." So
Yeah.
if you went and bought a $20,000 vehicle,
Mhm.
what would your payment be right now? And how many months of interest would it be before you've exceeded 600?
So
But the risk is at the end of that 12 or 15 months, you've got to have available credit with another bank to
mm.
roll it into.
Okay.
And if you're disciplined with those payments that would normally go to interest, pay extra on those payments
Yeah.
and just buy that price down, then you're rolling less into the next one. So, it's just a way to get creative, but it's
Mhm.
not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I always did it flawlessly.
Right.
Some of the pains were from doing it wrong and then learning the wrong way.
Mm.
Um, like I thought, if I left a $500 balance, I would just pay interest on that $500,
Yeah.
not going back to when 45 days prior to when I swiped the card and didn't pay off the statement.
Mm.
So, something I
Yeah.
want to talk about is, remember me telling you when we bought our property in 2016,
Oh, yeah.
we
Yeah.
we thought we were going to do a $60,000 remodel on a
Mhm.
construction loan,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden we ended up putting a couple $100,000 into this house that we didn't plan on.
Yep.
The only way we made it work
Mm.
was, yeah, I was making 100 grand a year, but the only way we made it work was everything we were putting back into the house. Like, we didn't
Mm.
have extra money
Mhm.
because we had so many things that, more remodel stuff. Every wall we opened up was worse off. It
Oh
needed,
my gosh.
it was an upgrade every which way we
Yeah.
turned, and we refused to just, "Oh, let's just fix it for cheap now, and then we'll go back in a couple years and fix it later." No,
Mhm.
no, we're doing this once,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do it right.
Yep.
And there was times I questioned it because I went, "We're going broke by doing it right." At
Yes.
what point do we go, "Ah,"
Yeah.
and literally for the next couple of years, we played the credit card game of, just because we had a lot of available credit with different credit card companies with
Mhm.
0 balances, and you get these promotions when you have good credit. And then it was like, instead of going and doing a HELOC at, 10% or 12, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
how can we make our money go farther?
Mhm.
And Bank of America has been my favorite, hands down,
Mhm.
out from Amex,
Yeah.
American Express or Chase or, um, you name it.
Yeah.
Bank of America has the best credit card promotions
Yeah.
because they send you these vouchers that not only are they a balance transfer,
Mhm.
you can use them as cash and they get
Interesting.
deposited right into your account, and then you can use them however which way you want.
Wow.
So, when you can turn that into cash and it's not a cash advance,
Mhm.
that's gold.
Mhm.
So, that'll be another story,
Little
but literally
tidbit.
it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
That's
that's
good.
my go-to. So I have
Yeah.
multiple Bank of America cards,
Mhm.
but one thing to think about is travel cards are not always balance transfer promotion cards.
Okay.
So a lot of your perk cards are pretty much strict on, yeah, you get different compounded points and things like that, and you earn money back on, or
Mhm.
travel or miles or hotel points, but usually those aren't your great balance transfer promotion cards.
Mhm.
They usually are separate. They usually don't do a lot on those. There's some out there, but
Okay.
not a lot.
But tell me about the credit cards that or what you guys had to do for the house. Unless
Yeah.
it was there more
Yeah.
to that? And then I wanna talk about, like, the promotional points of airline miles and
Mhm.
your guys' hotel points and stuff like that because
Yep.
that's super fascinating, and I don't feel like a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead with
So
the
in
house.
regards to the house, some people would think like, why do you keep raising your available credit? It's like, because when I want it available.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it takes years of good credit history to get your credit available bumps on your credit cards.
There's not a negative to increasing your
Well, I
available, is
mean,
there?
it's you could be at a higher risk
Mhm.
because you have more available funds
True.
in the swipe of a card.
Yeah.
So when they run your credit and they see, oh my gosh, you've got $250,000 of available credit to your name
Mhm.
sitting on all these zero balances, you're at risk because
Mm.
one bad day, if I want to go swipe a roo, we could be upside down real quick when you have that much available credit.
Gotcha.
So it's bought and it comes with time.
Okay.
And why I say credit scores are bought. If you are never paying interest on a credit card, you're never showing that you're being disciplined, carrying a balance over time.
So if you're
So,
never paying interest?
yep.
Okay.
So if you're never paying interest, if you get a credit card and you spend $1 for that candy bar and then you pay it off every month
Yeah.
and it's at 0,
Mhm.
you're not gaining as much. You're not paying interest, so
Mhm.
therefore you're not gaining as much credit.
Mhm.
But as you are swiping your card, carrying let's just say it's a $500 to $1,000 a month balance, and
And you pay the
you're
whole balance off every month.
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
and if you only pay a portion of that balance off each month, and you have continued credit being utilized,
Mhm.
you're gaining more credit history by carrying a balance.
I see.
You don't get as much when you just pay it off every month.
Yeah.
'Cause it feels
Mhm.
good to just pay it
Mhm.
off,
Mhm.
but when you're trying to build credit,
Mhm.
carrying a low balance is not a bad thing.
'Kay.
So, it's bought.
So
You're
it
buying
depends.
some of your
Yeah, yeah,
credit,
yeah. Yeah.
your credit score.
So interesting. So people don't really talk about that. Like,
Yep,
it's always like, "Nope, pay your credit card statement off."
yep,
But really, when you're trying to build credit, it's not a terrible thing to pay interest.
right, yep, and I wanna make sure we protect ourselves, and
That's true.
this is only our opinions, and
Yeah.
we're not
We're not
I
financial advisors.
yeah, exactly, but it's just finding some of the things that worked and some of the things we found, and, like, when people run credit history, when they say no credit is worse. I mean, that's an example of just have a little bit of credit that you're paying to build up your credit score and show that you make your payments, things
Makes
like that.
sense. Yeah.
So, but so on the house, how we got it was very stressful
Yeah.
because we took our credit limits and started taking them up really high. So
Right.
usually you want to keep your available credit less than like 25% available. So if you
Mhm.
got a $10,000 available balance,
Mhm.
25% would be $2,500.
Yeah.
So you want to keep your balances low.
Yeah.
Yes, you have credit available, but you want to keep them low to not hurt your credit as much.
Mm.
Once you exceed 50% of available credit on a card, it's more of a higher risk. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, they're getting up there, like we need to be watching this account kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a higher risk. So when we talk about debt to income, your debt ratio, things like that, that's when those are red flags. The higher you keep your balance.
Yeah.
So if you keep it under 10%, obviously that's great. If you keep it under 25%, that's not as good. But
Mhm.
when it's above 50%, you're getting to be a little bit more higher risk
Yeah.
as somebody
That makes sense.
you know.
Yeah.
So we had multiple when we were in our house. We had no money to just put all this money into paying our contractor and everything else, but these Bank of America checks on the promotions where we could just go, okay, we could take, we've got $40,000 available on that account.
Mhm.
Let's just take as much as we can, do that one time fee. Yeah, it's going to cost us some interest. It's also going to cost us a lot more interest if we don't have money to pay people that are working for us.
Mhm.
So then we stretched our debt
Mhm.
farther, but we got creative with it of, okay, what other credit card account are we going to be able to transfer that into if maybe we only got it paid down to 20 grand
Mhm.
by the time it's coming up and it's going to be a 27% interest.
Yeah.
Now we can balance transfer at 0% to another credit card like Chase or
Yeah.
American Express.
Okay.
And then you could take those credit cards and move them back to Bank of America or whatever it may be. So it's understanding
Mm.
where you've got to have available balances and cards with multiple banks. Because if you only run on one bank, you got no other bank to transfer it to.
Mm.
No other bank that you're building credibility with. No other bank that's trying to send you promotions to get you to spend more money.
Okay.
So, is it a risk of yes, the more we have available balances with multiple banks,
Yeah.
it could hurt our credit score, but it'll never hurt our availability of
Mm,
being able to get creative with financing when we need money or things are tight.
yeah.
We want those options available.
So you guys basically ended up transferring that balance,
Yep.
being able to pay people to
Mhm.
do the work, get it done right.
Yep.
And then what was your guys' plan after that? Like after you were able to get everything paid for in a sense,
Yeah.
then it was like, okay, now what?
Yep. So we ended up, and someone advise it.
Yeah.
We get that, but this is just what we did
Right.
when we had to find a way to make ends meet and do it,
Yeah.
or it was a matter of not doing it at all.
Right.
Um, so over that next couple of years, I mean, we did the credit card game, and then once we got the house all remodeled, fixed up,
Mhm.
then we did a cash out refi.
Yeah.
So we locked in a low rate, paid off any credit balances that we had that were stretched out.
Okay.
And does it cost us more on the 30-year loan? Money costs you a lot more over
Yes.
30 years. But the whole point of it was we got creative when we had no other options,
Mhm.
and we stretch ourselves thin to be able to do it and make that sacrifice and then just turn around and go pay them off.
Mhm.
But you also want to be disciplined and be making that 13th payment a year on
Mhm.
your mortgage.
Mhm.
So that's what we've done. Like we set up our mortgage where we pay an extra portion each month where it pays the 13th payment a year.
Mm.
And if we can ever make an extra payment, great. It just continues to eat down on that principal.
Yeah.
And they say like if you pay the 13th payment once a year for your 30-year loan, it'll take off 7 years off your 30-year loan.
Yeah.
So it just
It's
it goes
amazing.
so far
Yeah.
of just one extra payment. And
Yeah.
instead of having that lump sum one extra payment, just go pay $300 extra a month.
Yeah.
Now, by the end of the year, you've made that 13th payment
Right.
and it doesn't sting as bad.
Yeah.
And if you just set it up that way, you don't know any
You
different.
don't know any different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do the same theory on your car payments or
Yep.
whatever it may be, but
Yeah.
you've got to be able to have the money and be able to push yourself and be disciplined with it.
Mhm.
Um, and we just looked at it as how do we manage cash flow.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that it made total sense, but it's how we got through it, and it's how we
Yeah.
got into our home, and it's how we ended up remodeling it. And
Yeah.
I mean, our 5-year plan was done in a little over a year, but we went upside down to do it.
Right. Right.
So
Well, and it's like you were saying, when you get in there, I mean, that's why a lot of people don't like remodeling or, fixer uppers because then a lot of times you get in there and it's going to cost a lot more than you thought.
yep,
Right. And then you're stuck because you already bought it.
yep,
You're already tearing everything apart. And it's like, we just got to figure out how to make this work.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. That's something Steven and I have thought about a little bit. Like when we buy our next property, it's like,
yep,
especially when you wanna buy land, it's like a lot of times, like, in order to afford the land, you have to buy not as nice of a house
mm,
and then do some sweat equity into it, but a lot of times it still costs a lot of
yeah,
money, not just sweat.
yeah. Sweat equity is the way to go,
Yeah,
but I mean, it'll pay dividends,
yeah,
but doesn't mean it comes easy.
yeah. So you guys really wow, so a year and a half, 5-year plan in a year and a
Yeah,
half, and did that entail, like, just remodeling the whole house and the
yeah, because
property and everything, or
because the whole house. I mean, looking back on it,
yeah.
we contemplated maybe we should have just pushed the house over with a bulldozer.
Well, I remember asking you, like, "Why didn't you guys just tear it down?" And you were like, "We couldn't afford it."
Yeah.
It was, like, more expensive to tear it down and
Yep.
than to just fix it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a remodel if you keep one wall, but when we
No
went through
way.
the house,
That's
like,
funny.
so if you tear down all 4 walls,
Yeah.
it's no longer a remodel, it's new construction.
That's crazy.
But if you keep one wall up,
What wall was the one you kept up?
we actually kept all of them,
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
we took off the roof, we took off the siding,
Wow.
we fixed a lot of the studs, a lot of
Yeah.
baseboards or sill plates. I mean,
Everything.
we rearranged the whole layout of inside the house, just
Yeah.
took out walls, added walls,
Yeah.
moved doors, like moved sizes of bedrooms. Like it just, It
I remember being so confused why your garage door was on the other side, and then I realized when we were talking it's because the driveway used to be over there.
Yep,
And I was like, "Oh." I was
yep.
like, "That makes so much more sense." Because yeah, your driveway comes up and you have to go around it, and I was like, "What?"
Like,
That makes
this
sense.
is backwards.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you used to be able to pull right up and into the garage and then
yeah.
back down the driveway on that gravel road blind corner, and
Crazy.
it's like, yeah, this ain't happening.
No, your guys' driveway is
Yeah,
way better.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. I've seen some of those old pictures on Zillow or
right.
whatever, and I'm like, "This
Yeah.
was rough."
It's wild though. I mean, when you look at, what we bought, I mean, we just bought garbage dump.
Yeah,
Like, it was just a dump, but the
yeah,
location was money.
yeah,
And it was like, well, it's time to put that sweat equity in. And
yeah,
we had so many friends and family and people come help us out. I mean, every weekend we were working out at the house for months and
yeah.
months and months. Like, it just,
Do you have I know it's kind of off topic, but do you have like a crazy story or a funny story or like a oh my gosh story from you guys doing the renovation?
I think of when there was high school kids that seemed to think they wanted to come work and earn some money and they were willing to work, and
Yeah.
it's rainy and muddy and we're tearing off siding or roofing or whatever, and they
Yeah.
wear white Converse.
No way.
Like, Logan, sorry, bud, I'm gonna call you out. I thought maybe you just didn't get the
Did you
memo.
go buy him some boots? Oh my gosh.
No, but we we kicked him in the pride spot all weekend. Like, city boy.
So so cute.
Yeah.
Was that
Oh,
ever what you really thought it was gonna be like? Like, when you envisioned your life with Ash, like, when you guys were living in Albany, like, was that the dream of what you thought it would look like or no? Like, buying property or
so honestly, Ash's dream was always to be able to get back into raising cattle
yeah,
and having our kids in 4-H, and
yeah,
I always believed in the 4-H program because I was a part of it as well.
yeah,
But I never thought that being able to go own property and doing what we did
yeah,
and taking on the overhaul of it
yeah.
and buying some acreage, I never thought it was real.
Mhm,
I just thought it was more of a dream.
mhm,
And when we talked about what buying property and living out in the country has done to our kids,
mhm.
man,
Yeah.
what buying property has done to us
Mhm,
was a whole different story that I didn't expect.
mm.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love living in the country. I
yeah.
love being able to have some acreage and throw big shindigs and have luau's and just say parking, like, yeah, what field? Huh?
Yeah.
Like,
True.
come on out. Like, let's be as
Yeah.
loud as we can be and let's play some music and let's sing some karaoke and
Yeah.
let's have big bonfires and let the
Yeah.
kiddos play on bounce houses or water slides or
Mhm.
ride four wheel. Like, it's just
Yeah. You can't have that in the city.
no.
Yeah.
But I never knew it. I never lived
Right.
out of town.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never knew that it could really happen, and I
Mhm.
think because of Ash's dream of it, it kinda pushed me to more towards it, but I never knew the extent of how much we would embrace that lifestyle,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I can't even imagine how that would feel like I mean, when you own a home, it's never like your projects are done. It's never done. But
yeah,
I can't imagine how that would feel like once you guys were like moved in, pretty much like the contractor's done and you're pulling in your driveway to this beautiful house that you guys renovated and like it's your property and like regardless of the debt, the
yeah.
feeling of that of like we did it, kind of thing. Like I don't know, did you have a moment like that or was it just you were
I
just so in the thick of it?
I think honestly, we don't slow down and smell the roses often enough
Yeah.
because when we do, it's emotional of like,
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
look at the
living the
lifestyle
dream.
our kids are doing, like, look what we're
Mhm.
doing, like, but our goals are so big
Yeah.
that we always shift our goals and adjust our goals when we get
Yeah.
close to a goal, we're bumping it up,
More.
and
Yeah.
unfortunately, what that mentality does is you never give yourself enough grace of, like, "Look how far you've came."
Yeah.
Sometimes you're always looking at the, "But we got so much more work ahead," like,
Yeah.
"We got more work to do, we're not where we wanna be, we don't wanna settle."
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, my wife has to say, we need to be proud of where we're at and what we've done
Yeah.
and like where we're at in our careers and
Mhm.
raising our kids and
Yeah.
our grandson, like, being involved. Like it's just
Mm.
sometimes I've got to slow down and smell the roses more because it is surreal. Like when I look back and ponder,
Mhm.
then I get emotional about it because it's like,
Yeah.
man, there are a lot of good things to be proud of.
Mhm.
But then I have that mentality of like, man, but imagine if we can get this, and it's like,
We still have so much more to go.
yeah,
I know. It
yeah,
is. But it's like just hearing like where you've come from, the life that you've lived, even just like the house you guys had in Albany, like that's a great area to live
yep,
in, like and
absolutely.
everything, great schools and stuff. But to see you guys just kind of go all in and, it- I
Yeah,
can't even imagine, but seeing the rewards that you guys have gotten from that,
yeah,
like I think it's really encouraging to people because I mean, like for Steven and I think about, we're young and I didn't even really take it in that much when I was thinking about like, oh, I bought my first house at 22.
yeah,
Don't even think much about it. Like it was like I felt behind.
right.
Like it's
But
so weird.
that's usually self-inflicted.
It is, yeah. But isn't that funny how like we're so hard on ourselves and like we always feel like we're behind where we want to be.
Mhm.
And it blows my mind, like, because a lot of my friends are like, "What are you talking about? Like, I would love to own a house right now." And I'm like, "That's true." Right? But to me, I'm like, it's not where I wanna be long term. I don't really wanna raise kids here. I don't, like that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Um, but yeah, having those moments of like being so grateful, like,
Yep.
is really important.
And it kinda regrounds me when we take time for those moments
Yeah.
because it's like there's a lot of reasons why it could have not happened,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And, being very grateful and realizing that if it wasn't for my wife
Mm.
pushing for more in that sense,
Mhm.
I'd have been perfectly fine. Just
Yeah.
we got a great house in Albany. Like, why do we,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
It takes me 20 minutes to mow the lawn and I've got low maintenance. Like, why would I ever want to do anything different?
You spent like 3 hours mowing the lawn the other day?
3 weekends in a
3
row.
weekends in a row.
Yeah. But I love it. Like, I don't know, just what it's done for our kids. And like, I keep joking about my daughters being, you know, Kyla was always more of a girly girl than Taylor.
Mhm,
Taylor was always pretty tough.
mhm.
But Kyla just pink dress, never
So
get anything
cute.
dirty when we
Yeah,
moved out to the property. And
yeah.
now she don't go anywhere without a pocket knife. And, it's get ready to get your hands dirty. And she's
Yeah.
just, what the girls have done with their 4-H animals and just embracing that lifestyle. I don't know, like, that's something you could have never told me, and I think that's probably the most rewarding is seeing the growth in our kids and us as
Mhm.
their parents and just adulting. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
we joke that Ash is a single mother of 3 and I'm a full-time job, so
Yeah, I love it when it's like, in your calendar, it'll be like Kyla babysitting dad or something like that, like when Ash is gone. I'm like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
You're like, "I'm aware."
It's like you and Ash, you say, "Alright, now he's your problem." So, but
That's cool. Well, I know I was kind of off topic, but I think it's, we are kind of talking about money, but we don't just buy things or invest into things or go into a lot of debt for something like without there being a dream or an
mhm,
intention of like what we want for our kids, the legacy we want to leave, the place that we want to, come home to every day, like those types of things, they're why money exists,
yeah,
right? So it totally ties in. So I appreciate you sharing about it.
yeah,
But I want to know a little bit, kind of changing gears, like okay, the whole hotel, airline miles,
yeah,
like, points thing, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, like, I'm kind of, uh, a little bit uneasy about it because, like, I don't know if Well, I take that back. I do have a family member who does. I know that they do a lot of points, but they have like they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's always been like, oh, well, if you use points and airline miles and stuff like that's only for people who have a lot of money.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As I've learned.
Or as I
from-
should say, interesting. Are you willing to hear another way?
We're learning how to better communicate.
Well, I am. Here's my thing. I want to get something with every dollar I spend. I
That
want something
totally
back.
makes sense. Yeah.
So there's travel cards that cost you no annual fee. That's great. That's a beginner card.
Yeah.
There's travel cards that cost you $100, $200 a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. You're starting to step up
Mm-hmm.
because the greatest things are not free.
Right.
Like you've got to pay for some of the better perks.
Yeah. Hence why my husband married me. Not free.
So now I have a couple travel cards that are $450 a year.
Yeah.
And people would go, why would you ever like, well, hold on.
Mm.
So many people get caught up in, well, it costs $450 a year to have that card, but you get 3 times the points for every dollar or whatever it may be. They just don't look into really what's the cost of that card.
Yeah.
Well, one card is, I think it's $450 a year, and you get $300 travel credits back on your vacations.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
simple math is $450 a year expense
Mhm.
on your renewal date. But later in the year, am I going to travel
Mm.
every year? You bet. Is that ever going to stop? Nope.
Yeah.
I'm going to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And it automatically recognizes when you're traveling without even you having to turn in reimbursements. It already does it.
Yeah.
So really that card cost me $150 a year. But so many people are caught up in the $450. That's so much. It's like, look into what that card is.
Mm.
And then look into how much money do I need to spend on that card a year before I get a free hotel voucher worth $300 for one free night.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're already spending that money anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're getting a free room. You know, remember that card only cost you $150, and now you may get a room for up to $300.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how about this? Let's do that same card, and they automatically run you up to Diamond as a Hilton member. Now you get all your upgrade rooms, and you get to stay in suites instead of generic hotel rooms. Okay, these are unwritten perks that you get these automatic upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
And the different things, and when you spend money at Hilton's, now you get 10 times the dollar instead of 1 to 3 times the dollar.
And do you start getting points on those credit cards just from you buying groceries?
Just
and different stuff?
normal expenditures.
Yeah.
But like it's just like an airline card. When you spend money, let's say Bank of America has Alaska cards. We have 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because our business needs one apiece, and then our personal needs one apiece. That way we can get companion fares, which is $120, $121 for a companion fare.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I look at it. The Alaska card is $200 a year per person, and you get a free companion fare.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's $200 a person,
Yeah.
a lot of people just look at that and go, why? Why would I pay for that extra $200? Well, here's what this $200 gets us. We use those companion fares every year. We never have them expire. $200. Let's say you got a flight to Florida. It's $700 round trip, and you run it through Alaska. To have a companion, it's the price of that $121. Well, guess what? I've already factored that into my $200 a year expense.
Yeah.
It's like that next flight. That $200 is the price of that next flight and the cost of you having a card.
Yeah.
So for 2 people to fly to Florida, maybe it costs you $900, and your credit card's paid for the year. And the $500 savings that you had on the flight.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer. If you know you're going to travel, figure out the travel card that's going to work for you.
Yeah.
I'm traveling either way. And I'm using Alaska on a lot of my travels because I travel a lot on the West Coast. Yeah. Now, I've had a United card for many years. I just got rid of it. They never sent me any promotions. I never had any balance transfers because it was just a travel card. So I'd used up all my United miles, and I'm like, man, we're just not traveling United much. I'm going to cancel that card.
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks of canceling it. Oh, guess what? We've got, 0% balance transfer promotions. Like, credit card companies, they want to keep you. They want you to spend money with them.
Mhm.
But I had different Chase cards. So there's a time and a place to have cards that are 0 annual fees,
Mhm.
and there's a time and a place to spend extra money for
Okay.
higher grade cards so your money goes farther.
Mhm.
Um, if you're spending the money either way and you could pay off your statement every month, the high risk is high reward,
Okay.
but you've got to be disciplined.
What are some of your favorite credit cards?
Chase Sapphire was one of them.
Why?
Because of the travel points and the different promotions you get.
Okay.
American Express Hilton card.
Mhm.
I don't remember which one it's called, like the Aspire card or
Okay.
and a lot of these cards, when you sign up, that's another thing I didn't talk about is when you sign up to get you to go to that card instead of somebody else's,
Yeah.
they get on a huge quantity of miles or hotel points or
Mm.
credits
Mhm.
to use, certain cards you can exchange it into dollars. Certain cards
Oh.
you can turn it into hotels and rental cars. Certain cards you can just use it for airline miles. Certain travel cards you can use it through multiple airlines or hotels.
Mhm.
It all depends on the style card and how your money can go farther. But like the Hilton card, I think it was 140,000 points to sign up.
Mhm.
Well, that's like 3 free nights when you sign up for the card. Or you add a user. Oh, bam, usually you get 10 or 20,000 extra Hilton points.
Mm.
Well, she's going to be a user on the card anyways. I might as well add her.
Yeah.
Let's capitalize on these promotions.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you go to another card company, they're trying to earn your business. You want to find what's the best promotion through Chase, what's the best promotion through Bank of America.
Mm.
And those promotions, like those sign up promotions on the new cards, they're competitive, but you
Wow.
got to be willing to spend money to make and get the perks.
That makes sense. Is it like okay, so wait, why Hilton versus any of the
Uh,
other?
I like staying at Hilton better than any other property.
Okay.
We bought a timeshare there years ago. Traveled for Knife River and used Hilton primarily, and then just as you build up your tier status, now there's a card you could just maintain Diamond, which is the best of the best at Hilton,
Mhm.
and you get there without having to stay there 40 nights a year.
Mm. Yeah.
So you get it, and you get those compounded points, and your money goes farther. So,
Yeah.
like last week at training, I went to Bend. I had 2 free nights built up on just normal expenditures
Mhm.
where it's like, "Oh, sweet. I just stayed in a hotel for a couple nights. It was free."
That's right.
It's money that we're already spending.
Yeah.
Utilize those perks.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you talking about it because I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not in the right circles. I just feel like I don't really ever hear people like really explain how it works, how
Yeah.
anybody could generally get started in it. Um, Obviously, if you're in a ton of debt, it's probably not the best idea to go
Yep. Yep.
start opening more. Just handle what you got. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've talked about, Steve and I don't travel enough is the only thing. But then we were talking about how much you and I are traveling though, and Steven will come with us on some of the trips or Ash will come with us.
Yep.
So then it's like, oh, well, maybe it is worth like us just opening one and
I'm not gonna give up on you. You're gonna get one because you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like think of like some of the travels we did last year.
Yeah.
Now moving up to a different MVP status.
Yeah.
Now you get first class upgrades on some of your flights.
Yeah.
Or you get there's just different perks that come with it
Yeah.
that you're spending the money either way.
Yeah.
What other perks can you gain?
Yeah. Oh, and you guys also use what's the other credit cards you guys use? You don't have to, I guess we don't have to talk about it. I'm just
No, you're
curious,
good.
just because like that's something Steve and I talked about. We were like, because I mean, I didn't know until I really started getting into like our finances and stuff, and because he had credit cards when we got married.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm like, all credit cards kind of have different perks and points and different benefits, right?
Yep.
So that's why I was curious, like, what ones do you really like and would recommend to other people? Like, is there one in particular that you would recommend? Like, if somebody like doesn't have a credit card, or they're like, we want to get into the point game, like, where do we start? This feels kind of overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
what would you say to that?
Chase Sapphire Preferred is a great card.
Okay.
There's other comparables. There's like 4 of them that compare to that for different companies.
Okay.
So they're very similar. So I went with Chase because I had better available credit.
Okay.
But it all depends on what their goal is.
Mm.
Is their goal for airlines? Then they need to get an airline card. Is their
Mm.
goal for a certain hotel
Mhm.
and they do a lot of hotel trips for work?
Mhm.
Then get a hotel card.
Okay.
If their goal is just a credit card in general
Mhm.
or normal spending that you can trade in your points for some sort of travel,
Yeah.
your money goes farther because a lot of times if you book your vacation through Chase Travel,
Mhm.
you can, book it towards those points go 25 to 50% farther.
Mm.
So then your money can go farther. So say you had 100,000 points earned and now if you book it through Chase, if you get the 50% more travel, you might get $150,000 or 50,000 points
Yeah.
towards your travel because you booked it through the Chase travel site.
Gotcha.
So there's instead of just using those points for on a normal site, no, go through the Chase travel site.
Yep.
Now your points they stay within and they've got different negotiated deals that they got with their vendor partners.
Okay.
So it can go farther.
That makes sense. That makes
Yep.
sense. Yeah.
Yep. So there's no card that's just like, what's the best card?
Right. No.
It kind of depends
What you're
on
using
what they're
for.
doing. But a starter card, like I was recommending you and Steven, Alaska, if you know you're going to fly once a year,
Mhm.
get that free extra flight.
Yeah.
Like companion fare, that's a no brainer.
Yeah.
And just start there. Then there's other cards that are normal usage cards that would be recommended.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do that when we travel to
Yep.
Scottsdale for more
Yep.
Glover U trainings.
That's right. That's right.
I love that. I feel like I think we covered a lot of good, really good topics with that. In general, is there anything else that you would say like that we didn't cover when it comes to the credit cards and stuff like that?
I think the main thing is credit. Credit is important to understand.
Mhm.
And some of the richest people in the world use credit, but it's how you use it to your benefit.
Mhm.
So don't just jump in and think, well, Warren Buffett has credit. Well, he's also got deep pockets that can pay it off every month if he wants to. So there's a time and a place to utilize credit. There's a time and a place to build credit.
Yeah.
This is just an avenue that I learned, some things that work for me. And some of my friends are just like, there ain't no way I'm doing some of the things that you did.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you just got to know. You got to know in 12 months, I will have this paid off.
Yeah.
So this saves me money. And this allows somebody else's money to be able to utilize, which is the bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a time and a place for it. And it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you are not disciplined, you should probably go learn discipline first. And then,
Yeah.
because it's expensive if you don't.
Yeah.
And I started out the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at it, it's like, man, I got 10 grand I can spend, right? It's
Yep.
like, I remember there's a meme. We'll end on this. I don't know. It's not a meme. It's an actual video, I think, of like a mom and she's talking to her daughter or something. And her daughter had a credit card or maybe it was her mom's. I don't know what was going on, but they're in the car and the mom's trying to explain to her because she like opened up the mail or whatever. And she's trying to explain to her daughter, like, no. This isn't like just free money. Like you have to pay this. And she's like, what do you mean? Like she was like so confused. And so I was thinking about that. Like you could very easily like just look at it like, oh yeah, I got $10,000 I
Yeah.
can spend. Like that's
When's it due by?
yeah. Yeah.
And what's my minimum payment during that 12 months?
Yeah.
Okay, I can ride this
Well,
out.
means. Yeah.
Yep.
No, don't want to do that. But well, thank you for sharing that. And it's not like we said, you're not a financial advisor. We're just normal people. Like
Yep.
you own a business and multiple businesses and, we're just figuring things out as we go along. But I think it's, there's so many different paths for everything. Like that's the hard thing. Like there's so many different books on money. There's so many different people who, play different credit card games or the way that they think about it or, so it's kind of like, I think what I'm learning is like, just take it in. Just be a sponge. Take little tidbits from everybody that you're listening to, right? Good and bad. Like just take it in. Like Dave Ramsey. I know he gets a lot of hate on different things, and I don't agree with him on everything personally. But there's some good stuff that he's successful for a reason.
Yep.
Like it's not like he doesn't know anything. Like
Yep.
and you can take something from anybody, right? So I think that's really why, we just had, you've talked about it so much. You've talked about credit cards and people are like, you didn't talk about this on the podcast. So we finally got him on here.
Talk about where you failed on debt. Yeah, this is fun.
Thank you for the confession hour. We appreciate it.
Love it.
All right, guys. We're not financial advisors, so please don't reach out to us regarding your credit cards. We are not here to help you with that. However,
you want more info, I'd love to talk about it.
But as always, we're just normal people learning from like everybody, learning from our mistakes, learning things that work really well. And we love just talking about it and hoping that we can help somebody. So if you want to chat with Billy more, you're always more than welcome to. But also we do know some really good financial advisors. So if you do need somebody, let us know because we would love to get you connected with somebody.
Amen.
So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching.